Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface. Now if you were hoping today for a video that was approximately 15 minutes long where I go around soloing a Mr. Pandaren heroic 5-person dungeon and pretty much talk about this, that and the other, this is the perfect video for you, and welcome. But I'm not going to go too much into my grievances with Dungeons and Mists. I think I've pretty much covered all that I need to cover in that field. I've made no bones about it. Dungeons and Mists and Pandaren have been nothing short of massive, massive fail. Initially, because they weren't even challenging to begin with, the heroic versions at all. If you couldn't complete a dungeon in Mists, something was seriously wrong. Most likely with the people that you're playing with, they're either just being complete pricks, which some people do have a tendency to be. They didn't know how to hold one end of a keyboard from another, and they were dead. Because that's the only other excuse I can possibly think for not being able to have completed a dungeon in Mists of Pandaria. Even the heroics, inverted commas, got to do the air quote, inverted commas, even the heroics are called were just massive, massive fail, even in patch 5.0. So, of course, fast forward to patch 5.4 that we're in now, and I'm going around soloing them. All 9 of them I have managed to do, and I'm bringing you them piece by piece. And it's not just my class, Warlock, which can do it. Plenty of other classes out there which can do this too. I know some may struggle, but others aren't. So if more than, let's say, 3 or 4 classes which can solo this content can do it, then it's not particularly great. But I've covered all that. Not going to go over that old ground. There's the intro for you. We all know the place that I'm coming from. So I'm going to come up with a slightly different twist on the dungeoneering aspect today, because I want to talk about Warlords Draenor. Yes, that very popular bathroom product. No, sorry. That very popular brand new World of Warcraft expansion coming next year. Allegedly springtime-ish, according to Blizzard, but we shall see. We shall see. I think they're being a little bit optimistic, but we shall see. And I want to talk about how I think dungeons are going to come back into the World of Warcraft, and why Blizzard are going to learn from their mistake. Now, I think one of the biggest mistakes with Dungeons with Mists was the fact that Blizzard held way too much stock, or put way too much stock in scenarios. And I think they thought that scenarios were going to take over from dungeons. They thought, yeah, people are going to embrace this scenario business. You know, you don't need a tank, you don't need a healer, people are going to get right on board. Yes, my Void Lord has got itself locked outside, so I'm having to summon another one in. But hey, look, even that doesn't prevent me from completing this fight. And I think they held too much stock in what they thought was going to be successful in Mists, and to be honest with you, not a lot was. Full stop. You know, they thought, oh yeah, people are going to lap up these end content dailies. They're going to love them. Ah! How did that one work out for you, Blizz? And they were like, yeah, scenarios, people are going to really take these to heart. And they won't be too bothered that we're only doing 9 dungeons. And they, of course, announced very early on in Mist Life that they weren't going to add any more in the whole of the X-Pack, which was really worrying, full stop. Anywho, scenarios came and they were an absolute failure. They were a failure. They were ridiculous. They offered no challenge whatsoever. So although, yes, you didn't need a tank and a healer, they had no real point. There was no real point, because surely one of the best aspects of a game like this, one of the key features, is the element, of course, of potential failure. You have a healer, you have a tank in a dungeon. If the tank falls, the likelihood is the rest of the group's going to fall. If the healer falls, then how long can the tank last? How long can the DPS burn until they fall as well? There's that little heart palpitation area, isn't there? There's a little bit of risk involved. But you take out the element of risk, You take out all the element of fun. Because where's the fun when you can't die? If you're in an event that doesn't require a tank, doesn't require a healer, then you've got to do something immensely wrong for you to die. You've got to pull way too many enemies, which clearly isn't an issue here in Stormstout Brewery. You've got to tackle 3, 4, 5 elites at the same time while naked as a jaybird. You know, there's got to be some really mitigating circumstances for you to drop. So if there's no threat of death, if there's no threat of failure, then to be honest with you, it takes out all the element of fun. It takes out all the element of risk with the game. If you see people walking across a tightrope in a circus, you're like, oh my god. You know, there's that element of danger there. There's that element of risk. But if you see somebody walking a tightrope that's got like those disabled bars going across the side, they've also got a belt which attaches them to the tightrope as well, and they're driving a car across it because it's got nice tracks. Look, there's no risk, is there? There's no element of risk whatsoever, and you're sort of watching from the audience thinking, well, they're not going to fall. You know, if they slip, they've got the belt, they've got the car, you know, they've got the railings to grab onto. There's no element of risk, and it takes all the kind of fun element, takes all the UR. That is exactly what scenarios are. They are the bicycle with the stabilizers on. There's no fun, there's no learning progression, there's no way that you might wobble and fall off the bike because the stabilizers are always there to protect you, and that is dull. It's boring. So scenarios, needless to say, ended up being a right damp squib. Now Blizzard tried, I think it was 5.3 that they brought them in, to spruce up scenarios by turning them into heroic versions. But again, it didn't quite work. Now they have touted these as a success, but I'm telling you now, that is bullshit. I absolutely call 100% bullshit. They're not a success. The only reason why a lot more people are doing heroic scenarios as opposed to regular scenarios is heroic scenarios offered at the time immensely good rewards for the content. You could get 516 level gear, and at the time, bearing in mind that normal raiding was giving out 522 level gear, 516 level gear was amazing, absolutely phenomenal. Also, they attached to them staggeringly high amounts of Valor. And Valor was so difficult to get in Mists of Pandaria through dungeons, through regular scenarios, through daily questings. Unless you were running challenge modes and raids, it was really, really tough for you to get your Valor cap per week. Unless you ground like a hog, which I personally didn't want to do. I have lots of other things to do with my time than just play WoW for 16 hours a day to get my Valor cap. Okay? So, because they offered immeasurably great rewards and huge amounts of Valor points, of course people were doing it. It was the best way to get your gear. It was the best way to get your Valor. That, Blizzard, doesn't make it a success. That doesn't make it a success at all. That's what we call a trick, a parlor trick. You disguise poor content by putting good rewards behind it, and then you call it successful. Bullshit. We have an IQ above that of a dead gnat. We can see right through it. So suddenly these scenarios were taking over, or trying to take over, the role of dungeons, and it doesn't work. So let's fast forward now to Warlords of Draenor. Why do I think dungeons are going to be a success again in Warlords of Draenor? They've run out of lives. They've run out of chances. They've run out of strikes. They're on strike 2. And if they strike 3, it's game over. It will be game over. Because by the time Warlords of Draenor comes out, we have 2 massive things. Hey! Not those, you dirty bastards. No, we got 2 massive things. We've got the PlayStation 4 and we've got the Xbox One. You may have heard me mention these things before. And they are now the World of Warcraft's biggest competitors. Not Elder Scrolls Online, not Terra, not Guild Wars 2, none of them. It's not Star Wars. Nothing. None of them whatsoever are now Blizzard's competition. The PlayStation 4 and the Xbone are. These are the ones. And come Warlords of Draenor, those two consoles are sparking into life with some amazing games. We're going to see the release of Watch Dogs, the new breed of MMO. We're going to see Tom Clancy's The Division. We're going to see Titanfall. We're going to see Witcher 3, unbelievable RPG, potentially coming out. We are going to see lots of amazing games coming out for these consoles, and games which can pull people away from any genre, any title, any franchise out there with ease, because they are shaping up to be absolutely phenomenal. So if Blizzard don't get their content right in Warlords of Draenor, it will be Strike 3. Cataclysm was Strike 1. Mists of Pandaria could have easily been Strike 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, to be perfectly honest with you. But for the sake of this argument, let's just say it's Strike 2. And Warlords of Draenor, if they get that wrong, is going to be Strike 3. Now, from what I've heard from BlizzCon, from what I've seen of the footage, from what I've heard from the devs, it looks like they want to succeed. It looks like they want to make sure this gets back on track. I don't think they'll ever admit too many shortcomings with content. They might go, yes, things didn't work out quite how we planned, but oh well. But Dungeons has got to come back into the element, and they've probably got to start phasing scenarios out. They have said there will be more scenarios in Warlords of Draenor. I'm not going to be surprised if we're going to see the end, though, with three-person scenarios. I think we might just see single-player scenarios coming in to Warlords of Draenor. I'd be vastly, vastly disappointed if they do try and put too much effort into three-person, or they do still try and push three-person scenarios, because I think they are absolute tripe. They have no real place. So, we have 7 new dungeons coming out in Warlords of Draenor. I believe it's 3 or 4 leveling and 4 or 3, could be either, of endgame, heroic versions. And I imagine, of course, they'll have heroic versions of the leveling up dungeons too. So when you get to level 100, we're starting off with 7. So you might say, well, as you know, there's 9 dungeons in Mists of Pandaria. 7 is going to be less. Well, to me, the fact that they're bringing out 7 and not 10, not 11, not 12, says they're going to be adding to them. So to me, the fact that they're getting 7 dungeons says to me they're bringing 7 out initially, and then there's going to be more. Come patch 6.1 or 6.2, we might get 2 more dungeons. Come patch 6.3, 6.4, depending on how many patches they do, of course, we might get 3 more dungeons. But by the end of the life of Warlords of Draenor, I wouldn't be surprised if we'd seen approximately 12 dungeons. I think they'll add another 4 or 5 before the end of that life. And of course, what that also means is, unlike the dungeons in Mists of Pandaria, because they never added to them, and they stuck with the 9 from the start, they've always aged badly, because the gear has gone exponentially crazy as we've been leveling up through the various patches. But, of course, when you start to filter the dungeons with existing content, then those dungeons can be created to go alongside that content. So that's why I think there is hope for dungeons come Warlords of Draenor. They will be coming along with us. They will be leveling up with us. They won't be in situations like this, where I can run around and piss easily solo them. And there we go. So, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings about what you think of the current state of scenarios and dungeons in Mists, and where you think it could potentially go in Warlords of Draenor. So, hope you enjoyed the vid. Please do like, comment and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook and Twitch for live streaming. And I shall be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Night night.